Imagine this: you're a billionaire's wife, and you're about to face the biggest challenge of your life. A public humiliation and assault in an upscale restaurant will test your strength, your love, and your belief in yourself. Stay tuned to see how one woman turns a nightmare into a triumph of empowerment and redemption. When the sun set on the illustrious Spago Beverly Hills, Jane Matthews was living the life she had never imagined. The restaurant buzzing with whispers and the soft clank of fine crystal. Jane sat poised in the splendor of her surroundings. The soft lighting cast a golden glow over her elegant attire. A simple yet sophisticated navy dress that she chose for its comfort and understated beauty. In her mind, Jane's thoughts drifted to a simpler time, remembered the warmth of Detroit summers and the cool breeze of autumn in Westwood. As she sipped her water, her eyes scanned the room, taking in the opulence that had become her world. The guests surrounding her dressed in luxurious designer gowns, dripping with jewelry that sparkled under the warm restaurant lighting. Jane, her heart fluttered with a mix of nerves and pride as she thought about the life she had built with her husband, Richard Matthews. Richard, a billionaire tech mogul, had built an empire with his innovative ideas and unyielding determination. But tonight, as she sat in the elegant dining room, Jane felt a pang of unease. The weight of expectations and the constant scrutiny of high society had begun to wear on her. She had grown up in a small apartment in Detroit, her mother working 3 jobs to keep food on the table. Jane herself had worked from the time she was 14, helping to support her family while maintaining straight A's in school. She put herself through college, working nights at a diner and weekends at a laundromat. Her life had been one of struggle and determination, but she had never let it define her. When Richard proposed, she insisted on keeping her job for 6 months because she didn't want to abandon her students mid-semester. When they married, she donated her entire wardrobe to a women's shelter because she said other people needed the clothes more than she did. As she looked around the opulent setting, she couldn't help but feel a sense of disconnection. She had never asked Richard for anything. When he proposed, she insisted on keeping her job for 6 months because she didn't want to abandon her students mid-semester. When they married, she donated her entire wardrobe to a women's shelter because she said other people needed the clothes more than she did. The dress she was wearing tonight, she had chosen specifically because she wanted to be comfortable. She didn't believe in wasting money on expensive clothes when that money could be used to help people who actually needed it. She had a closet full of designer gowns that Richard had bought her, but she preferred to dress like the woman he had fallen in love with. The woman who would rather spend $1,000 feeding hungry families than buying a handbag. Suddenly, a tall woman with perfectly styled blonde hair and a sharp, cold expression approached her table. The woman, dressed in an expensive white designer gown, looked down at Jane with obvious disdain. "Excuse me," the woman said, her voice dripping with false politeness, "but I think there's been some kind of mistake." Jane looked up at the woman, her heart beginning to race with an instinct she had hoped never to feel again. The woman's presence radiated hostility like heat from asphalt on a summer day, and Jane could smell her expensive perfume mixed with something sharper. The acrid scent of prejudice and entitlement. "I'm sorry," Jane said softly, her voice steady despite the warning bells clanging in her mind. "What kind of mistake?" The woman's lips curled into a smile that never reached her eyes. "I couldn't help but notice you sitting here all alone, and I thought perhaps you were lost." Around them, the gentle hum of dinner conversation began to quiet as other patrons sensed drama brewing. Jane was acutely aware of the eyes turning in their direction, the way conversations paused mid-sentence as people strained to listen. But as the minutes passed and Richard's call stretched longer than expected, Jane became increasingly aware of the woman's attention. She noticed the blonde woman excuse herself from her table and begin walking directly toward her. Jane's heart raced. Something in the woman's expression, a mixture of disgust and self-righteous anger, made her stomach tighten with familiar dread. She had seen that look before growing up in Detroit, and it never led anywhere good. The woman was now standing beside Jane's table, her cold blue eyes scanning Jane from head to toe with obvious disdain. "But I'm not lost," Jane replied calmly, though her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her water glass. "I'm having dinner with my husband." The woman's laugh was sharp and brittle, like breaking crystal. "Your husband?" She glanced around theatrically, making sure she had the attention of the surrounding tables. "I don't see anyone with you, dear, and frankly, I'm having trouble understanding how someone like you could afford to eat at a place like Spago." The words hit Jane like physical blows. "Someone like you." The phrase contained multitudes of assumption and hatred wrapped in the deceptively polite language of Beverly Hills society. Jane had encountered this kind of prejudice and assumptions her entire life.